Smoking sexy style! Smoke.
Hello, this is Smoke here. Let's close this stuff. And yeah, after this overused intro, let's do the tier list for enemies in Devil May Cry. I think that's a fun way to interact. Uh, so, disclosing a bias, I'm a Dante player, and I play mostly on SOS and DMD. I like doing more combos than freestyle, so I don't have as much exposure to all the enemies as some of my peers, but I hope I can make my opinions a bit clearer for everyone. So let's start with the S rank, because I think that's a good benchmark for comparisons. Kana. Kana, uh, Kana I like because he's the grunt, he's the one that the entirety of the combat system is available to you when you're facing him. And that's really fun because the combat system in DMC5 is really good. So not much else to say. They're just fun. They they're dummies that you fight against. They have decent health. Second in S tier, Scuto. I like Scuto because once you bypass the shield, he's just a Kana. His attack patterns are interesting, especially since they often come in numbers, so it can be fun to defend against. Also, just from its design, it's immediately obvious what you should do. Just get behind this shield, bypass his shield, go underneath, and that is just good design. You look at him, you know immediately what he's gonna do and what you have to do to uh, bypass this enemy. Alpha Man, A rank. This is I think it's a good way to make a long range enemy. His attacks can be like if you're not paying attention, they are gonna hit you, and he responds well to being hit. Like he flinches a little bit, so you see that he is taking a little bit of a beating, but like he doesn't flinch so much that you can just completely bypass everything. And like overall, he feels good to fight. Behemoth, D rank, Devil May Cry 5, or rather, Devil May Cry as a series, except for 2, is a game that really rewards verticality and enemy manipulation. And this thing is an horizontal poop that's an immovable horizontal poop. You cannot lift him, you cannot do anything fun with it. You just pummel it until it dies, and you cannot even do air stuff. Also, when it gets in its enraged mode, with its mouth out, that's weird to say, but yeah, once it gets into this mode in the picture and it starts attacking, you basically cannot interrupt it, which feels really bad, and it keeps attacking for a long time because it darts around the battlefield back and forth. So it throws you on the defense for too long. Because I think the fun enemies are the ones that let you keep on the offensive, or that don't keep you on defense too long and you switch back and forth. This just you're either all out offensive without like 50% of your moveset, or just defensive until it stops. So it's really annoying. Nobody D. This thing is basically mortal. It has so much fucking health. And the problem I have with it is that, yes, it does telegraph its attacks, but because of its awkward shape, it's very hard to read those telegraphs. Also, like it's not always clear which phase it's on. In on whatever. It's not very like what's the current state of this creature, because it switches around between three stances. The ranged stance is a bit more obvious, but the ranged stance and the neutral ones are a bit harder to teleport. If you ignore it, it's just gonna either lunge at you from outside the screen or make this exploding eyeballs. This is a chore. Like, that's all I can say. Um, Chaos, A rank. It's kind of obvious what you have to do. Like, you just shoot him when he starts spinning, and then you combo him. And when you get rid of the scaled armor, he becomes kind of like a Kana. So overall, really fun. Like, it's a Kana with obstacles, but I'm gonna place it at A rank because sometimes he just recovers unexpectedly and fucks you up. He's a bit more annoying than Kana. Impusa, B. He's a Kana that dies too quickly and has a weird shape, so you can always combo him. Not exactly ideal. Fury, B rank. And I have some thoughts about Fury. It telegraphs well when it's attacking. The problem is before you get to know all of its telegraphs, it goes into this weird phase that it just keeps jumping around, not doing anything. And until you learn to ignore that and like know when you can ignore him, he's such a chore to fight because he's really distracting. Other than that, I like fighting him, so that's why he's not at C tier. So he can be fun to fight. The problem is that the he spends so much doing nothing, and when he's not doing anything, he's really distracting. So especially for more novice players, they get really hung up on Fury because they spend more energy on the Fury than they have to, and it feels really frustrating because it like there's a clear difference between the telegraphs when it's attacking and when it's not doing anything else, but it's not that clear, especially not in the heat of battle. So he can be a bit of a chore to fight. Lusaka, C rank. He's a worse Baphomet, and which is ironic since he's like the upgraded form. But my main problem with this guy is I like the fire laser and the electric balls. I don't like the electric explosion because that is too hard to play against while you're keeping the offensive. And this the range characters like the range enemies should require you to be offensive. So that's something I don't like. I also don't like that it doesn't flinch at all when you're attacking. Like even if you're making progress towards chipping away its armor, it doesn't look like it. It's too unflinching, and functionally, I feel like it's very similar to this, but this feels better. Like to play against the heuristics of it are a bit more comfortable, a bit better for the Baphomet. This is a Baphomet that doesn't show you progress, and it's more annoying to fight. Riot, D-Rank. This is my Dante bias. These guys are really annoying to fight as Dante because they have more armor than it feels like they should. Like they have surprising amounts of armor, especially and when they're in double trigger, it becomes basically impossible to flinch them, and they can get really aggressive. And I like aggressive enemies, but I don't think aggressive enemies should be this tanky and not tanky like this hard to flinch and to counteract. I feel like if an aggressive enemy, like such an aggressive enemy, is at you the whole time and you cannot do counterplay, you cannot parry, you like it becomes really annoying. And a lot of times, like this guy is knocked back, and I try to lift him 2, 3, 4 times, and he still doesn't leave the ground. Like by the time I manage to lift him, another enemy has caught on to me. So these guys are a short fight, especially on DMD. Like if Devil Trigger didn't affect this guy, he would be completely fine. Also with Nero, like Nero players don't mind him because you can just Nash, so like it would be probably like B, even A. Maybe S, but like I don't think so. But yeah, as that this guy's a char. And Green and Pusa, this doesn't do anything, just stays there flying and healing, and it's just boring. Nothing much to say about it, just such an inoffensive enemy. Pyrobat A. It's an aerial enemy that it's large enough that you can do pretty much whatever you want with them, and it looks heavy enough that the control options you have for it make sense, and the ones that don't work make sense that they don't work. Like Ebony and Ivory doesn't work on this guy, and it looks like it shouldn't work. So let's skip this, guys. For the same reason, I'm gonna place this at B. Because this is basically a lighter Pyrobat, but you cannot control it with Ebony and Ivory. And like it has less attacks, it's just a less interesting Pyrobat. Also, Pyrobat explodes when near death, so you can like kill a bunch of enemies with it if you're clever. So it feels really good. And this is just a worse Pyrobat, and worse not only in like its attack power, but like how it feels to fight. Like it feels like it should be easier to manipulate, and it's not. So Judaka C. This guy teleports too much, and it forces you to make an optimum play pattern for it, which is basically you stun him, and then you just do big damage. And if you don't do that, this guy's gonna be the last enemy standing, even if you keep focusing down on it. Incredibly annoying. See? I like this guy's rage mode, I hate his normal mode. Because his attacks, they start really slow and they get fast at the very end of the animation. That makes it really annoying to defend against. And it also rewards dodging more than blocking and parrying, which is not something I enjoy. I feel like parrying and blocking especially should be rewarded more than just dodging with Trickster or Jump or whatever. Also, this guy has way too much health, especially since he has the damage reduction at low health, and also in Devil Trigger in those stacks so that he only takes a quarter damage, so he takes too long to kill. And it can get really boring if you're not using Devil Trigger or like the hat, and even Real Impact is not super reliable against him because he goes backwards quite a bit. And Pusa, Queen 8, fun enemy. You cannot manipulate it since it's a heavy, but it's tall enough that you have your aerial moves at your disposal. So you can still, like Akena, you have your entire arsenal against it. Its rage mode is dangerous enough to keep you on the defensive, but it's not a permanent mode, and it's not as brain dead as the Behemoth in its default mode. So I feel like this is a fun enemy to fight. D rank, this thing doesn't do anything. It's a punching bag that goes away, like it flees from you, and that's just annoying. Scissors is S rank. Never touch the ground. It's fun. You can parry them for insta kill. Like it's always fun when enemies have like this secret mode that you can go by them faster. Um, it's great if you're practicing to better your aerial game. So overall, it's a fun enemy to fight, even though you don't have your ground arsenal with it. I think your aerial arsenal is so demanded against them that it makes up for it. Lastly, Tenora is a B. Uh, for a few reasons, like I would place them at A if their attacks were faster. It has the same problem as Proto. Its attack starts way too slow and then it goes fast. So it's hard to guard against in that way. If it was like the same speed but more steady, or just faster overall, like it would be much more convenient to fight. Because a lot of the time, like you're attacking an enemy, then you notice him coming at you, and then you stop attacking the enemy to prepare for him, and that makes this awkward pauses. And a lot of the times, like you're focused on his low speed, and then when he speeds up, you're not ready for it, like the lunge attacks. Also, but why he's not lower is he punishes button mashing because he enters his rage mode when knocked back. I feel like he would be more fun if he could be better stunned with Ebony and Ivory in the air, but I'm not. I'm 50-50 on that opinion. Also, it's annoying that when you dodge, sometimes they stop attacking and other times they keep on attacking. So, like, I don't mind being on the defensive for a bit longer. I mind like going from offense to defense, and when I think I can go back on the offense, I get thrown back at the defensive position. So that doesn't feel too good for me. So yeah, this is my final tier list. I'm gonna publish it on Twitter. If you're not following me there, give a follow. It's gonna be in the description. Also, if you like this kind of discussions and more theoretical talks about the game, leave a like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know your opinion. And yeah, this is it. So go away now.